I love this intro. I'll never stop loving this intro. Well, actually, that's true. If we get our own custom intro, I might love that more. Good morning, everybody. 9:30. We're a little early, but we knew that. Well, we didn't know that until this morning. We knew we would have to be early because of stuff and things, and we are early due to stuff and things. It is 9:30. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada, specifically Toronto. And I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. We're doing that today for an hour from 9:30 to 10:30. Thanks for joining us. And if you've got questions, we've got answers, usually. You can get to us by going to trafficcop.ca, and you have links to any one of the platforms. But if you're watching us, you're already on a platform, and that's great unless you're on Twitter. Twitter doesn't allow us to actually see your comments or questions, which poses a bit of a problem. So if you're on Twitter and you want to ask us questions, jump onto one of the many other platforms available to you today. Now, the easiest one, just because it makes less work for JD, our producer, if you go to YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, those comments are easy for me to just click a button and put them on screen, and we can just chat about stuff. If you are on TikTok, well, obviously we can hear you from TikTok too, like, Zombie, who says good morning, and RF, who says hello, and Rod Thibault, who says hi, and Emma, who says good morning, and Timothy John, who says hi. We can see your stuff there. But if you are going to be, those questions require cutting and pasting from JD into the big box, so we're different places. But I see questions popping in, so that's awesome. A couple of things to jump in on and discuss prior to answering your questions. What I forgot to mention, Instagram. We can see Instagram. It's a separate phone, separate device. If you use the question mark in the bubble, I see your questions as a Q&A, and I can respond to them. Discord is a server we have. You can jump onto our Discord community. We haven't really gotten into the Q&A being integrated yet. It's coming. I got to disable blocks that were there. And Mommy C4 says good night. Does that mean you are going to bed now and you're leaving? You're up too late? Mommy C4 says goodbye. A bunch of things we're going to talk about before we get into questions. A couple of them, because of the regular reminders from our viewers, I will make sure they are taken care of at the beginning of the show, and we do not want to forget any of these. And first off, we'll start with the one that Akela Jaconis, who says good morning, wants to remind everybody about. And that is, did you get my video? Which I did get the video. I haven't watched it yet. And the Harley, of course, which is where I was going with this. Let's see here. I have a Harley raffle to promote, and here it is. If you want to be a wonderful, magical, amazing human being and support Special Olympics Ontario while also having an opportunity to win a brand new 2022 Harley-Davidson Touring Street Glide, well, then you should go and get your tickets today. Don't wait. Well, wait till after the show, because we don't want to have you leave. One ticket is $20, 3 for $50, 8 for $100. Obviously, 8 for $100 is the better deal. Go to it. If you got multiple devices, you can do that while watching the show. Did you know that if you're watching on TikTok, you can actually close the screen while you're driving and listen to us as an audio feed? So if you're listening while you're driving, it's okay. But if you're watching while you're driving, that's a problem. Don't do that. We want you to be safe on the road. Obviously, we also don't want you, getting pulled over, stopped and charged, or even worse, cause a collision because of what you're doing. So one of the things we discuss on a regular basis is the fact that safety first. We want people to be safe. And we actually created a podcast for that very reason, so people could download at their own time, download episodes. And we have about 16 or 17 episodes currently on multiple platforms. You can pretty much get it anywhere. It's called TPS Traffic Jam. Check it out. We have some great interviews with various people from the service and our partners outside of the service. We also have an episode being recorded tomorrow, and I have a special guest in studio tomorrow who will be on for the live stream as well as the podcast. So things that are coming soon. Okay. One more piece of business before I jump into the first round of questions, and that is Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Now, where are these fine folks and what do they do? Well, Vision Zero Enforcement Team are a group of dedicated officers who spend time focusing on driver behavior that leads to serious injury and death on our roads. It's the behavior that we know is unacceptable, yet so many people participate in it. Speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. We know it's not right, and we know that it leads to serious injury and death on our roads. And yet, if you are out on the roads every single day, you will see multitudes of violators. In fact, if you're out for any amount of time at all, it's staggering. So we have officers who focus on different areas of the city every single day to help the officers who are generally dispatched or based in those divisions do great work so we can keep those areas safe. And we also, of course, announce every day where they are. Today, they are in 52 Division and 41 Division. So what does that mean? Not everybody understands divisional boundaries. So let's talk about neighborhoods. Kensington, Chinatown, Bay Street Corridor, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, Birchcliff, Cliffside. Those are neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. If it was your family, you'd want to keep them safe too. When we talk about how many deaths we see annually, we generally see the same number or similar numbers when it comes to violent crime and vehicular or road related deaths. People get really upset about gun violence. They get really upset about crime. They don't tend to get upset or as offended when they talk about deaths on the road. I don't understand why. Very often, and not always, but very often, people write off the deaths and injuries related to gun crime, saying that those people were involved in this particular lifestyle and made certain choices, and they can live with that. They can make it less about them. But we see a lot of people who are absolute innocent victims in crime. Motor vehicle collisions, more often than not, it's innocent people involved. Obviously, sometimes it's people who are choosing to drive a certain way and they lose their lives as a result of it, but it's also civilians who are just minding their own business. Yeah, it's not okay. We're a Vision Zero city. We acknowledge that minor collisions are going to happen, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death are totally unacceptable and they're totally preventable. Make better choices. And it's easy for me to say make better choices, but I make better choices too. I am practicing what I preach. I don't speed. Do you? Think about it. What makes it okay? I don't think anything. All right, we're going to jump into some questions and then we will circle back and talk about becoming a member of the Toronto Police because we're hiring. We're always hiring. Different jobs, different times, but we'll come up and talk about those and we'll talk about ways that you can connect with us and chat. Let's start with Dylan, who wants to know, this is an interesting question. Is it legal or illegal to wear a security guard uniform as a civilian and not a licensed security guard in public as long as you don't claim to be a licensed security guard? Dylan, where are you coming from with this? It's illegal to impersonate a police officer. It's illegal to work as a security guard if you're unlicensed, but wearing the uniform, I don't believe is an offense in particular. It's probably a really bad idea. That's not my area of expertise, though, so I'll have to ask some questions and read up on whether or not there's actually charges for impersonating a security guard. I'd be shocked if there was, but it's a really bad idea. Why would anyone do that? I wanted that to go away, not to jump out. Okay, here we go. Coming back up here. Frontier Gamer says, good morning, coming in from YouTube. We've got Vibe coming in from TikTok. Why does it take 7 days for me to get my car out of the pound? I don't know why you're having 7 days. What is it? What are we talking about? Are you talking about an impaired? Did you get arrested for impaired driving and you got a 7-day impound where your vehicle is impounded without your ability to take it out for 7 days? Because if it was stunt driving, it would be 14 days. So I need more information, Vibe. Let me know. Vibe with the butterfly. Akela gave us an update. He went for 8 tickets, and that's what I'm doing. Okay. Can I use autonomous driving on the 407? Elon Musk is asking. Is it really Elon? If it's really Elon, I need a Twitter tweet from your verified account to confirm. But in any case, autonomous driving depends what you're talking about autonomous, because level 4 and level 5 autonomy, truly autonomous vehicles, aren't available for sale, and they're only in the test phase under a pilot with the Ministry of Transportation. There's only 2 organizations that can use autonomous 4 and 5, and those include McGill for a on-property test vehicle that shuttles students, and another company that works with Loblaws called Gatic, and they have vehicles, I think 4 vehicles, 3 of which are using level 3, 1 of which is using level 4, and they're on a very closed and approved circuit. Level 5 is. Level 4 are being used. Well, actually, no, they're on a set course, but everyone's involved. It's not something that they just use everywhere. So can you use them? You can't. No, it has to be under the pilot. Now, if we're talking about level 3 or 2.5, autonomous features technically there's a spectrum from 0 to 5. So 6 different levels from nothing to something. And some would say that the auto drive feature or the full self-drive feature from Tesla is autonomous. It's not really autonomous because the driver is entirely responsible for everything that that vehicle does when they're behind the wheel of the car. And they have to check in officially on the steering wheel touching it. A lot of people are trying to bypass that, but they're taking their life in their hands. It's beta software, and it's not necessarily safe. You have to take over. You will have to take over. You have to be paying attention. People are falling asleep behind the wheel of the car. Not cool. So Elon, if it's you, please fix it. Let's make it better. But I'm excited about the software. I'm excited about the technology, but it's not where it needs to be. Okay, let's get on to Metronome. Metronome. I want to become a police officer. They say it's a 6-month application process, but how long is it really? It depends. It depends on if we are about to complete an intake, we're about to send people and we need people, they can make that faster if they need to. If you've got part of it done, if you're in process and we're not hiring or the class is going to be a while, it could if a class just goes in, it might be months until there's movement. So it really depends. And I don't work in employment, but 6 months seems to be the appropriate amount of time. Certainly, if you're in a rush, it won't make you happy. I was delayed. I was in backgrounds and then there was a freeze. So I waited, I think, a year in backgrounds. Now, obviously, I was still employed by the Toronto Police Service, but I waited a year until my police college class or till I got my official letter because there was a freeze. I remember the day very well. I remember hearing about it on the radio, and I was not a happy camper. Okay, but I am a happy camper now. This is a great question. And we get it a lot. I don't know why anyone would actually want to do this, but hey, to each their own. Can you pull a camper trailer and a boat trailer at the same time behind your pickup truck? The answer is no. There are commercial vehicles or large vehicles that can do this, and it's generally only for commercial or farm vehicles, but certain vehicles would be permitted to. A pickup truck would not be able to, and certainly not a personal vehicle, which is a personally owned pickup truck. Let's see here. But it is a good question regardless. I think that is incredibly risky. People can't drive without a trailer. Then you add a trailer and they can't drive. And then you add 2 trailers. And now we're talking really interesting stuff. I'm not an advocate for multiple trailers. Okay. Amrish. What are vehicle heavy, loud audio sound systems laws? That's a very interesting way of asking it. Loud noise. It's not about audio system sound laws. It's about noise. And noise that is unnecessary is unlawful. And you can be charged under the Highway Traffic Act for emitting unnecessary noise. Doesn't matter if it's your engine, your exhaust system, your stereo, a siren, which siren has a separate deal in addition to just the noise that it creates. It's not lawful to have in your vehicle. You can't squeal your tires. Now, squealing your tires or intentionally losing traction is also stunt driving, but just from the sound perspective, there's a law that deals with it. It's the same law for all of it. Don't play loud music. It's not lawful. Tinto Tozy coming in from Montreal, I assume still from Montreal, and Facebook. I hope high school students listen to you. They do. Students and people from around the world and of all ages listen to us. The demographic range is enormous and very cool. So thank you to everyone who listens and who listens and participates. I really appreciate you. Now, just a shout out to anyone watching who doesn't know who I am. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk to the topics of. I talk about all sorts of things, by idea, from donuts to donuts. Donuts, food to donut. Anyway, execution of that was not good. In any case, I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day. Sometimes I'm in studio. Sometimes I am not. Mostly of the time I'm in studio. When I'm not in studio, I'm usually not going live. But we want to educate people. We want to answer questions that everyone has. And if you have a question, chances are there's a whole bunch of people who also have the same question. So no, there are no stupid questions. We get sometimes the same question a lot, but it just means a lot of people need to know or want to know. So thank you, Tinto Tozy, for triggering that stream of consciousness. Okay. We have a question from EP. Is it legal to change my rear license plate bulbs to red bulbs? Actually, it is illegal. You must and can only have white light. more than three. It's minimum 3 candela of power, according to the Highway Traffic Act in Ontario. Red bulbs would be illegal, and it would be what I like to call a heat score. I'd pull you over as soon as I saw it. That would be the first thing I did, just because it's a lightning bolt saying, "Hello, pull me over," and you don't want that. So don't do that, because it is a $110 fine. Stefan or Steven? No, I think it's going to be Stefan. Why is there no crackdown on drivers at night with no lights? We can't see them, and they can't see us. No. I call them ghost cars. Very often they are vehicles that have automated lighting systems that someone has turned off, or the dashboard lights up with daytime running lights and the driver's clueless. It is absolutely illegal. It's improper lighting. We do lay charges when we come across them. We obviously don't see everybody all the time. Whenever I see them personally, I have an opportunity in my civilian card to mention to them that they need to turn their lights on. And I have even been guilty of it on a rare occasion. I have automated lighting, and when I take it to the mechanics, they turn it off, and I am now very aware of it. But I remember yelling at someone who had their headlights off until I realized I too had my headlights off. So we were both idiots that day, and I've since corrected the problem, and now I'm hyper conscious of my headlights. But it happens. It is incredibly unsafe. Headlights are there for a reason. Tinting headlights, taillights, illegal. Not good idea. Bad. Don't do. How can I become a cop now that the government is covering the cost? It was always something you could do. It was that regardless of the cost. This shouldn't be the motivator. If you just want to join the job because someone's paying the bill for your college, that's not the reason to join the police. It is a calling. It is a career. It is more than just a job. And I want to discourage people from applying just because it's something to do. I will say it's a great opportunity for those who are already interested, but paying $15,000 was prohibitive. So I'm not calling you out as someone who isn't interested, but just the way you've written it is, it's not just that this shouldn't be the reason to apply. It should have been something you've been burning to do your entire life, and this is just making it easier. So not if that's you, then absolutely you should apply. The deal is that, and it backdates, and I think it's a 3-year plan that they're going to pay for the college for the next 3 years, like for intake classes for the next 3 years, and they're going to reevaluate at the end. But you would apply like anybody else would, and I guess this is the segue into discussing the employment unit, or not the employment unit, but specifically becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service. Okay. So the deal is this. You go onto our careers page, which is by you can get to that information by going to tps.ca/careers, and you will be brought to this magical website, which I keep seeing these smiling faces. It always makes me happy. What kind of jobs can you apply for? Well, the job that you're talking about, in order to qualify for the tuition, or the only one that really requires tuition, is the police constable role. If you go there, you can see all sorts of information about how to apply. And there's a big old button that says apply now. That's the one you press. And you need to meet the minimum requirements before you apply. So read up, have a look at what they have on the site here. Everything you need to know and more is here. If you do find things you don't understand or need clarification, reach out to a recruiter. They're standing by. No, they want people to apply. They're here to help and guide you. So if you have questions, they have answers when it comes to this. Now, I want to, and I really appreciate always going to look at the civilian roles, because not everybody wants to be a police officer, and we need good people in all roles. So what do you do? I got to find my mouse. Here we go. What do? You go to that website and you check out the kind of positions that are available. And apparently there's 12 civilian positions currently listed. We have intermediate technical analyst, senior analyst, payroll operations lead, logistics and equipment clerk at FIS. That's the Forensic Identification Services. Senior analyst, senior programmer, senior technical analyst, project coordinator, legal counsel, solutions architect. Yippee program is a youth initiative. It's the Youth in Policing Initiative after-school program. That is open right now. Communications operator. We are looking for all sorts of people to all sorts of work. And I read this out whenever I bring it up, because we know that police officers are being hired. We know parking enforcement officers. But the lesser known job postings are right there, and they change all the time because they're only posted for a period of time, then they go down. You have to be on top of this if you want to become a member of the service in a civilian role. You got to jump on these opportunities when they are made available and go for it. because the next time you look at it, it might be gone. And the one you want may not be there. And if it's not the one, if there's nothing you want now, make sure you check back on a regular basis because they obviously change. But we have an amazing group of recruiters who want to help you. The goal is to hire you. Okay. What is this? Oh, that's very cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate the share. The Grinch sent the Twitch link to his university policing department for an education resource. That's awesome. I appreciate it. You should send them the whole thing, like trafficcop.ca. We got all sorts of resources, and that's very cool. And apparently, we may have an applicant for some of those IT jobs. IT is cool. We have a great group of people that help keep us. One thing that really is overlooked is that we have so many civilians that support the uniform members, and without them, we just couldn't do the job we do. We only function because of our civilian support team, and that's everything from the people who pay us and do the administrative work to the people who answer phones and our dispatchers and our we're a big family, a big team. It's not that the cops are tops and everybody else is just along for the ride. They make it possible for us to do what we do, and I thank them. I formally thank you. I really, really appreciate you. I started as a civilian. I was an auxiliary volunteer, and then I became a court officer, and I became a supervisor in both roles, and then became a police officer. So I've had a good opportunity. I've worn the title of civilian, and I appreciate it. All right. Gerald wants to know if you can do burnouts on your own private property. The answer is no. Legally, you cannot. It needs to be a licensed. It needs to be a proper racetrack. It has to be a racetrack or a go-kart track according to the Highway Traffic Act. Farmers' fields, garages, above ground, below ground, everything under the sun is pretty much listed as a place you cannot stunt drive. And burnouts are stunt driving. So, are you eligible for charges? Yes. Will you be charged because we're waiting in everybody's farmer's field and everybody's bushes watching you and waiting for you? No, we're not. But if your neighbors complain and then we come back because you're doing this every Sunday at 3 p.m., chances are you're going to get in trouble and it's going to be unfriendly and unfun. Unfun. Is that a word? It is now. I say a lot of things that don't exist in the dictionary, but might be added because of stuff and things. Just saying. Okay. We've talked about this. We talked about that. And then everything just updated and I can't find it. Where did it go? What age is too old to apply? This is the recruiting episode. The age, there's no too old to apply. When I became a member, first of all, I became a police officer at 38. I was already a member of the service since I was 25. At 38, I became a police officer. Although I started in the process, was I 38? I was 38. Now, there were people in their 50s in my class. May have only been one, but there was at least one who was in their 50s. So you're not too old. There are lots of opportunities for people of all ages. In fact, very often people are too young to apply. You might be at the minimum requirement, but you may not have life experience. When you got some gray in your beard or in your hair, if you have hair, I don't have, I've got some hair. Anyway, what I'm getting at is gray in the beard or gray in the hair allows you to have accumulated some life experience. And that's really what I think is most valuable when it comes to policing. Being able to speak, being able to, be calm and having had those experiences in life. Those are valuable experiences, whatever they are. Whether you managed a grocery store or pumped gas or worked at McDonald's, like whatever you did in the last 20 years may have made you the perfect person to become a police officer. I was a real estate agent. I was a tech guy. I used to work in the computer industry. I had an entire career prior to becoming a police officer, prior to becoming a court officer. Those are all things that make me a more well-rounded, I was going to say contestant, but applicant. And it is a contestant to some degree. You're competing against other people who are applying. So it is very good. Why did I transition from civilian to cop? Part of it was I wanted shift work, oddly enough, but I had always wanted to become a cop. I originally became a civilian because there was a hiring freeze. I would have become a police officer directly, and I don't know I'm sure I've talked about this. When I was 18, like the day I turned 18, it was minimum requirements. I went and I applied to the York Regional Police. They were applying. They were taking applications. And I was like whatever their scoring was, I was like 1 point too low. And I remember sitting in their it was on Eagle Street, writing an essay because they had an essay component, and I remember getting a letter and being crushed. I wish I still had that letter to really understand what the deal was. Like where did I fall through or fall down on that? But I did. I then waited until there was an opportunity to become an auxiliary officer. Had so much fun volunteering. It really confirmed my desire and my belief that I wanted to be a police officer. But they weren't hiring. It was in the late '90s, and I became a court officer first. Did both auxiliary and courts simultaneously for many years, and then patched over. So listen, there's nothing wrong with being a civilian. It's a great job, and I have many friends that are still civilians in courts, and we have new roles. Like special constable is a new role. So lots of opportunities. You don't have to become a cop to be a member of our service. We just need good people who want to help people. That's it. All right, scrolling down, looking for new questions. Hello, what about tinting? What are the legal percentages? I want to make sure that there's an understanding here. There is a legal percentage when it comes to vehicle safety according to the Light Truck and Passenger Vehicle Inspection Guide. And that states that they cannot certify a vehicle that has more than 30% light blockage, which means 70% of light has to get through the windows directly left and right of the driver. The back windows are not regulated, and the front window, the windshield, is absolutely regulated. You cannot have any tint on that windshield that is put on, save and except for vehicles that are manufactured in 2016 or older, and they can have up to 3 inches from the top of the window to the PS1 line or whatever happens first, 3 inches. And the deal is that, what is the deal? The deal is that you cannot, despite the fact that you might be able to get safety, you can't be on the road if a police officer or a member of the public can't see in. You cannot obscure the interior of your motor vehicle. We must be able to make eye contact. We must be able to see you, identify you, observe you wearing your seatbelt, not wearing your seatbelt, their enforcement activities. There's so many reasons we need to see the driver and inside that front passenger compartment. You're not allowed to pick your nose in private. That's the law. I think it says it there in green. Okay, maybe not. But the deal is that even if you have the legal tint percentage for certification, you can still be ticketed for having tint that's too dark. And 30% light blockage is not that dark. We see a lot of illegal tint. And a lot of people get away with it because our priority is on the driver activities that most seriously or most often lead to serious injury and death. But that doesn't mean that tint is safe. Tint is absolutely not safe when it prevents people from being able to see pedestrians and cyclists and those that are out on the road, especially in nighttime. I don't think people understand clearly enough that tint restricts light. Your eyes work on light. It's like Superman. They're powered by light. You reduce the light, you reduce your vision, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But people argue about it a lot. I would not tint your windows. Tint your back windows, black them out, paint them opaque, whatever you want. I don't tint anything anymore. And as a young person, when I had a Mustang, I had tinted windows. I don't even know what that percentage it was. I took it there and I said, "Can you tint my windows?" And they said, "Yes." And they said, "How dark would you like it?" And I said, "That dark sounds good." And no one told me that I had to go and get a certain percentage, or I don't know if they were legal. I no longer own that vehicle, and it's so long ago that it's no longer relevant. But it's an interesting. I never really thought about that. Did I have legal tint when I had a tinted window car? Probably not. Okay. Am I allowed to install a breathalyzer on a motorcycle? Is that a question or a statement? I'm allowed to, with a question. We talked about this briefly yesterday. I don't know if you're the same person who asked yesterday. I'm not aware of whether or not you can have, I don't know what that, it's the 10 o'clock chime? It's the 10 o'clock chime. I don't know whether or not you are allowed to have what's it called? What the heck's it called? Tip of my tongue is missing. Interlock. I don't know if you can have an interlock device installed on a motorcycle, frankly. I know they're available for motor vehicles, but I've never seen or heard of one being put on a bike. Don't know. By the way, we are going to be joined at 10:35. So I was supposed to cut off the show at 10:30, but I got a request from Jerry Agar's show if I could talk about some electric vehicles. So we're going to stay a little later today, even though I've got somewhere to be. I'm going to hang out for 10 minutes, and we'll go along and have Jerry's show join us right at the end. So if you're interested in waiting for that, by all means, stick around. But just to reintroduce myself, since we're at the halfway point, my name is Sean Shapiro. I am a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff all the time. And you're here for Ask a Traffic Op, which is the show where I answer questions live. Of course, you can always ask us questions in the DMs, and you can ask us questions. Where else can you ask? In the Q&A section of TikTok. And we actually make video responses. Yesterday I was talking about making right turns on red lights and whether or not you can do it from either of multiple lanes. So we talked about that. Today we're talking about histories, driver's license history. I've already recorded the video. I haven't published it yet because I ran out of time, but I'll post it after the show. Okay. Scrolling back through tons and tons and tons of stuff. Is it illegal to drive in the box of a pickup truck? I'm assuming you mean pickup truck. You must, in Ontario, sit in a seat with a seatbelt. Not just a seat designed to hold people, but a seat that has a seatbelt. Now, granted, if you're in a classic vehicle that was manufactured prior to having seatbelt requirements, then you must be in a seat designed to hold people, but it doesn't have to have a seatbelt because it predates the seatbelt laws. But the bed of a pickup truck is absolutely illegal to be transported in or to ride in. And that's the answer to your question. So I will take it off the screen. What is this? Oh, so Frontier Gamer noticed the same thing about having their automated lights turned off. And I know why they do it. They do it because they put the vehicle on the hoist. They have it in their shop. The lights become eye level and blinding, and they're walking around the vehicle working on it with the ignition on. They don't want to look at the lights. Or maybe they want to drain the battery as an additional thing because that would weigh on your battery. So there's two reasons why. But there should be a sticky or a giant alarm bell that goes off when you start your car and that's not turned on to the full automated position. Now, new vehicles are being mandated to, I can't remember, is it that they aren't going to have their dash lights on unless their lights are on, or they're going to be always on? In any case, there are new vehicle requirements that say that lighting must change and be on or more clear. The problem is that the headlights, or at least the daytime running lights and the dash lights are on, and it gives that false sense of the lights being on. People just don't understand. And then they drive with improperly aimed lights because they're technically high beams on most vehicles. And then in addition to that, they are they're blinding people, and they have no taillights on at all. So maybe taillights should just always be on. Like, how much gas are we saving by having the taillights turned off? Always on taillights, always on lights would just be so easy to do and make so much sense, if you ask me. All right. Rackin wants to know, here's the question. Got a full G license right after G1 because of my 10-year driving experience abroad. Can I accompany a G1 driver? I'm going to assume that that they gave you the credit. Well, they did give you the credit because you went from G1 to G. Now, to confirm that, look at your driver's license. And everyone who's watching will likely be doing the same thing right about now. Pull your license out of your wallet or your bag or wherever you stored it and look at the photo, or look for the photo in the bottom right-hand corner. Beside or to the left of that photo, about an inch away, you'll see 4 dots vertically oriented. And those dots, if present, mean that you can supervise a G1 driver. It acknowledges 4 years of experience in the qualifying period. The qualifying period is when you get your G2 to your G. 4 years experience. Total time from G2 while driving as a G2 and a G. So if you had 4 years as a G, and then 4 years as a G2 and then got your G, technically you should have the ability to supervise. Now that you have your G, you've got the qualifying time taken care of. But unless those dots are there, don't take a chance because they may not have recognized something and you would not be permitted. Okay, scrolling back to get the next in line. Where to go? So many questions. It's fantastic. Thank you for everyone who's... The show is fueled by your questions, so I really appreciate it. Is it illegal to ride a bicycle on city roads while intoxicated? The answer is, it's not impaired operation. It's not the same as driving a motor vehicle, because if you ride an e-bike, which is a motor vehicle, you would be charged under the criminal code for impaired operation. So you can be arrested for an e-bike. You can't be arrested for impaired operation on a bicycle, but that doesn't mean you can't be arrested. Public intoxication is something you can be charged for. Careless operation, like the bicycle is still required to be operated safely. So there's other things that you could qualify for, even though you're not being arrested for impaired. So, is it illegal? Depends. If you're a risk to your safety or the safety of others, there are other avenues that police can take. Can I apply for a police officer as a mature student? So, mature student applications are and I'm assuming you're talking about like university mature student status, where you don't qualify for a to apply to the college, but because you're older and you can write an essay, no, you must meet the minimum requirements in order to apply to become a police officer, and they're outlined. So you need to go look at the website, and I'll put that on screen for you right now. And it is tps.ca/careers. Get all your information there, and yeah, go from there. Speak to a recruiter, but you need to have your OSSD or equivalent. That's the Ontario Secondary School Diploma or its equivalent. Okay. Oh, interesting question. A lot of really good questions. Can I become a police officer if I have a criminal record? Generally speaking, it's a no, but it depends. If your criminal record was that of a youth, and you have to have had a pardon issued, but even then, it may not mean that you can apply. It depends on, like, they do a full background check. They talk to your neighbors. They do a home interview. At least that's what they used to do, and I assume they still do. So it really depends on who you are and who you were and who you've become and who we think you'll be tomorrow. So is it possible with a minor thing? Is it possible? It's possible. Is it likely? Unlikely. But talk to a recruiter. You'll find out more. I am looking to become a police officer, but I'm not from Toronto. Would you guys relocate me? No. You need to make you could relocate yourself, but nobody's paying for your relocation. Would we hire you if you live somewhere else? Sure, but you need to move. You need to find somewhere to be. You don't have to live in the city of Toronto. It used to be that you had to live, like years and years ago, you had to reside in the city of Toronto in order to police here. That's no longer a requirement. But you do, like, if you live in Vancouver, it's going to be a heck of a drive every day. But no one's paying to relocate you, unless that's part of the memo that came out and I missed it. I didn't miss it. Okay. Let's see here. We have I am 24 karat greens. Is that what I am? 24K greens. I'm not. Well, that's the same. Boy, you've asked on every platform. You asked on, you asked on Facebook. You asked on. That's normally called spamming. We don't encourage that. But I am impressed by your desire to have the answer. Okay. Let's see here. Did you see the pic on Discord of the Grinch getting arrested by the OPP? I have not, because I haven't logged in a couple days, but I shall. Dr. Nick. Dr. Nick has lots of questions. Can you please show me in section 172 stunt where it says burnouts are illegal? All mention is turning and spinning without traction. Donuts. The app on your phone is wrong. What is a burnout? Because you in your question have answered. Spinning without traction. What is a burnout? Okay, let's read it. Let's read it, because you can read it again. It's intentional loss of traction. What is a burnout? Just you tell me. I'm going to pull it up just so I can read verbatim what it says. But it is burnouts. Okay. Why can't I find it? Here we go. Alphabetically, the wrong area. Okay. Stunt. That's not the one. Here we go. Perform stunt. Okay. All tires not in contact with highway cause tire to lose traction. Burnout. Cause tire to lose traction. Spinning without traction. Yeah, there you go. Now, spin or circle without control is another section. So there you go. And I should say the app on my phone is just the HTA. It's just formatting it, the HTA. All right. Sean Watson. Can I make a left off a one-way onto a one-way at a red light? Okay. So yesterday we talked about right turns on red lights and whether or not you can make right turns from either, if there are multiple, right turn lanes. And the answer is yes, you can. Now, there is the strange anomaly of left turns on red lights. If you are on a one-way, turning onto another one-way, and there is no sign present prohibiting it, then you can make a left turn on a red light after coming to a complete stop and only proceeding once it's safe to do so. Are aftermarket integrated taillights with signals legal in Ontario for motorcycles? Integrated is not the issue. The issue is discernible. If the signal cannot be easily discerned or understood from the brake light, if it just looks like one blurry mob, then you have to have direction. You have to be able to discern whether or not it's left or right signaling. It could just look like a blinking taillight. It is a potential issue. Not all of them are legal, and it's going to be up to the perception and interpretation of the officer who is making the observations. What is this? Why do people think it is a justified rant, zombie? Why do people think four ways are magical park anywhere buttons? People don't understand what I have an issue with four-way flashers altogether because people think it's the go slow on the highway button. People think it's the raining, snowing, foggy, everything button. If you are not moving, if you're pulled over the side of the road, you are now a hazard. They're appropriate. If you are having issues with your vehicle and you're pulling off, they're appropriate because you're in the process of you're a hazard to everybody. But if you are driving for an extended period of time with your hazards on, you are improperly using them. It's not a charge per se, but if your vehicle can't exceed 40 kilometers an hour and you're on the 401, you shouldn't be driving. Pull off the road, pull to the shoulder, get a tow truck. That's not drive home 400 kilometers at 40K because, well, your hazards are, there's so many. Anyway, obviously I want to rant about it too. So I totally, I totally appreciate your comment. Oh, I love this question. JHBL wants to know if it's true that police officers have a monthly quota of giving speeding tickets. No. Now, that's not to say that some place elsewhere might have a incentive program or a quota. I can't speak for everywhere. I've never heard of a police service in Ontario that has them. I've never heard of a police officer or a police service that has them anywhere. I do not know anyone who has them, but because I don't know that they have them doesn't mean that they don't have them. We don't have them. That I can say for certain. Now, that doesn't mean that we aren't expected to work. And if we never write a ticket, but we're traffic officers, somebody somewhere is going to start asking questions. And knowing how many violators there are on the street, I could stand outside for 10 minutes and find 20 to 40 offenses to write. So if I'm not writing them, it just means I'm not working. But even if they were to say you have to write 20 every single day, if I only wrote 20, why wouldn't I write 50? The goal of a traffic officer is to make the streets safer. Violations are people who are choosing to make the roads unsafe. So I've always been told I can write as many as I want. And I do, or I did, because I'm not on the road anymore. But my goodness, there's no quotas. But I love talking about it. And it reminds me of an episode from Chips where Poncherello, and for anyone who doesn't know what Chips is, Google it. But yeah, Poncherello was asked that question and said, no, my sergeant said I can write as many as I want, which of course makes me say the same thing because, one of my heroes who I got to meet in the not so distant past. I was in LA and I got to meet the actors who played John Baker and Punch, Frank Poncherello. Yeah, it was very cool. They are cool guys. If you're watching, how you doing? Okay. Do you know anything about a career in police dispatch? I do not. Well, that doesn't mean I understand that they do. I know it's a very stressful and difficult job, but they are always looking for good candidates. And if you're interested in that, talk to a recruiter because they'd be the best people to speak to. Information about the job available at tps.ca/careers. And again, people at the other end of that website are always looking to help find good people to help us in dispatch, in communications, operator roles. Is it true that the judges get money from the tickets issued? Maybe where, in some countries, but not here. Judges don't make commission. They're the what are they? The unbiased. What are they considered? The trier of fact. They don't get commission. That would destroy the whole fabric of the legal system. Okay. It does mention that the intentional loss has to be while a vehicle is turning stationary. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I see Chase saying. So you're reading the long form, not the short form. It's still going to be under the stunt category, but I will read into it further with the long descriptions. But it's going to be up to a court to decide. Triable situation. Okay. Ako Krayan. Can I get an extension on my G2 since I have 11 months left since I passed my G2? You can take your G2 if you just took your G2. Oh, it's not. So if you go take your G2 again, you can get an extension, but you can't just get an extension that I'm aware of. But talk to the people at Drive Test. Let's see here. Tanis wants to know, is it legal to cross a solid white line, except emergency, of course? It's not illegal. Crossing a white line is not an offense. You are responsible for everything that happens. Yeah. You're responsible for everything that happens, but it's not illegal per se. All right, I appreciate the comment, Dr. Nick. I'll look into it, and I'll take it to the powers that be for further investigation. All right. What do we see here? How much does this podcast cost to produce? Well, this isn't a podcast. This is a live stream. We press go and we talk we press go and talk. We don't have a production team. We don't have a third-party company that is producing it for us. We're here using social media for the purposes of social media. Now, there is a podcast that a third-party company was hired to produce. That's not this. So if you're talking about all the radio or the news that was on recently discussing the fact that that was a thing, that's not talking about us. But I don't have numbers for you because it's something that I do for an hour a day as part of my job. I'm a media relations and social media officer, and I am a traffic education specialist. Yeah, I'm a traffic guy who works in the traffic safety programs office, and this is what we do. We used to go to local shows, schools. We used to make visits. We used to drive all over the city every single day, and now we do it from the comfort of my chair. And instead of having a team of officers, it's me. So whatever it costs, whatever the dollars and cents actually work out to be, it's cheap. Certainly in comparison to what we used to do. Is it true Ontario Police College has free tuition for new police hires? It is true that you are no longer required. So the $15,000 that you either had to pay out of pocket or get a loan to pay is no longer something that is going to be charged. In fact, they've backdated it to include the recent graduating class from January. So absolutely, you no longer need to pay for the tuition, which is exciting for many. But I can tell you that if it was $1 million, it would have been something I would have said, yeah, give it to me. Let me have it. Like it was probably $8,000 or $10,000 when I did it. And it didn't matter. It was like a really low interest loan that was guaranteed. They took it off my paycheck every 2 weeks. It was a no-brainer. But this is still better. I appreciate it. Still better. Okay. Can a car with an accessible permit be towed? Sure. Why not? If it's illegally parked, it could be towed. It doesn't. It's not a tow. It's not a no tow sticker. It is a certain conditions permissible decal sticker permit. The deal is that in most places, for instance, if you have a 3-hour limit that's extended to 24 hours, if you are in a no parking zone, it is a place that you can park. But if you're in a no stopping zone or a no standing zone, I'm sure you can still be towed. I don't see Aaron, but my understanding is any parking infraction could result in towing. Maybe they would take additional opportunity to try and find the owner, but I don't think that there's any obligation to do that. How fast can the cop bikes go? If you're talking about pedal bikes, as fast as you can pedal. If you mean the motorcycles, they can go pretty fast. Why do you ask? Like doing dignitary escorts, we go pretty fast. We say hair on fire. Well, in fact, I've gone very fast. I've gone so fast that I couldn't go faster. It wouldn't go faster. uh, what do you do outside of your TikToks for your specific job? Uh, Again, I'm a media relations and social media officer, so I engage with mainstream media and deal with media inquiries about the cases that are being investigated at our location. We talk about traffic safety campaigns. We actually develop them. We're involved in the training and execution of that training across the service. So there's a ton of different things. Uh, but it's just whatever needs to get done. Like we're involved with a lot. I say we, myself and Sergeant Kulik, and then we've got the part timer. We also have Sergeant Murray Campbell, who is the backup, I guess, sergeant and media relations officer, because we have three of us that do the media role, although we have other things we do when we're not doing it. Yeah, we're like the Swiss Army knives in this office. But I don't go on the road anymore, and that's something that confuses many. I was a member of the motor squad until I got hurt. I was in a collision. I was hit by a car when I was on my police motorcycle returning to the station, and since then I've not been able to return to full duties. So all my stuff is administrative, and this has given me a great opportunity to connect with everybody. All right, let's see here. Can I eat whilst driving? Well, first of all, Billy Batson. Does it say? Oh, it's Billy Bats. I thought Billy Batson. I was gonna call you Shazam. Uh, I love the fact you use whilst because whilst because I use it all the time, and then I don't ever see anybody else using it. So, can I eat whilst driving? Yes, you can legally, unless it negatively impacts your ability to operate a motor vehicle. So, in the event that you are swerving all over the road because that you know burger is just so distracting, well, then that's a problem. But if you're able to safely operate your motor vehicle and you're not having a 3-course meal, then you can. All right. Let's see here. If an What is this? Ah, if an unmarked car tries to pull you over, can you drive to a police fire station for safety reasons? Uh, the answer is if an unmarked car tries to pull you over, pull over because you can't just keep driving. That's pursuit at that point. If you do not pull over for a police officer, it's a pursuit. You can pull over. You don't have to get out of the vehicle. You can roll down the window as safely as you think and confirm to your satisfaction that they are a police officer. You can tell them that you are concerned for your safety and you'd like to relocate to a police station. You'd like to, depends on the situation. They don't have to comply. You can also call 911 and say, I'm at the side of the road with someone I don't think is a police officer. You can ask for their badge and ID. Things you can do, but just driving, not an option. That will end badly. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Scrolling back. What is the equivalent of the FBI in Canada, Toronto? Go to school for criminal profiling. So, Federal Bureau of Investigation is a federal police agency in the United States that handles certain areas of law. The legal system in the United States is totally different than it is here. Like, yeah, we have laws, but like, for instance, murder in Canada is a federal law. Murder in the United States is not a federal law. It's a state law. Mail fraud is a federal law. Like it's totally different. The FBI deals with serial killers, but not killers. It's like totally different structure. The closest thing to a federal police service when you compare to the FBI would be the RCMP. But the RCMP handles municipal policing duties in some jurisdictions. FBI doesn't. They handle provincial policing duties in some jurisdictions. That's not the FBI's kind of thing. Like very different roles. And then they have CIA, which is their intelligence agency, and we have CSIS, which is our intelligence agency. So if you talk about federal agencies, it's FBI and CIA and then RCMP and CSIS. I think that's going to be your parallels. And go to school for criminal profiling sounds very cool. I like watching TV shows about profiling, but I've never studied profiling. Okay, something just popped into the bottom. Yes. Do you still ride a motorcycle for recreation? I have a motorcycle, which I have not ridden since my collision. And it's not really because I don't want to ride. I do want to ride. I'm not afraid of motorcycles. I love them. It's been my passion since I was 16. But I also have a family, and they are very concerned for my safety. Having only almost lost me in that collision, my children and my wife are not big fans of the idea of me getting back on a bike. And frankly, I'm not feeling so great that I want to be on a bike for a full day. I'd love to go and uh, I would love to get back onto it, but only when they give me their blessing that they think it's okay. Because I don't want to upset them. Upsetting your family is bad, especially when you love them a lot. Okay. How many hours? Oh, how many hours do police work in a day? We work differently. I work 8 hours a day because I work Monday to Friday. Other officers work 7 days at 11 or 12 hours a day, and then they're off for like they work 7 days on, 7 days off. So it depends on what shift pattern you're on. Used to work 10 hours a day when it was the old shift pattern, but things have changed. And now it's different for different areas of the police. Yeah, Chase, I caught that. Okay. What is this? The video I saw was hard to see inside. Okay. If someone decides to contest a ticket, is there a limited time for this to go through the courts? So the courts say that you have to have a reasonable that your trial should be reasonable. And generally speaking, a year is what they consider reasonable. At which point you can make an application for something called an 11B, which suggests that that your rights are being violated because you haven't gotten a reasonable amount of time to, or it's been more than it's been an unreasonable amount of time for your trial to take place. But a lot goes into that. Now, first of all, COVID essentially triggered a bunch of things, and I believe they've changed that to 2 years now. But let's say you go to court and you say, I want to delay it. And they'll ask you if you're going to waive 11B. And if you say yes, well, then you've waived it, and any extension is no longer going to be covered under that. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but that's my understanding. I should preface everything I say with, I am not a lawyer. I am a cop. Okay. What are the logistics of having an aftermarket exhaust and high flow catalytic converter? The logistics. I like that word. You must have an exhaust system that works as an exhaust system that muffles, a muffler that muffles, a resonator that resonates. You have to have a functional and approved system. You can't have a straight pipe, even though that's technically an exhaust system. A high flow catalytic converter must be a legal one for street use. So your stuff must meet the requirements of the Highway Traffic Act in order to be used on the road. Can you have aftermarket stuff that is more free breathing than the stock stuff? You can, but you're still responsible for having a legal one. And any noise that you cause is something else that you could be held accountable for. Yeah, Chase, I gotta spend some time, and I haven't had time to mess with Discord. We do have a Discord server. If you're interested in joining, you can use the link here, the scatter code, or you can go to trafficcop.ca and you can do that. Chase wants to know where you get the TPS livery installed. Livery is a great word that I was not familiar with. I didn't know that race cars had livery, but the deal is that we do it ourselves. We have people who apply stickers in our shop. It's all done in house. We have multiple mechanic garages, and we have fine folks who prep cars and build cars for us. I think we get them bare bones, and they do everything in house. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Can I have tinted headlights and taillights? No. Headlights, absolutely not. Taillights, so there's a specific section in the HT that says you can't have headlight covers or tints. However, the deal for taillights is that they have to be discernible, brake on and off, at 150 meters. And they're generally manufactured to meet the requirement. So if you tint them, they no longer do. And it's up to the officer who is making the observation to believe that they're functional, safe, or otherwise. And many people say, well, if I put a brighter bulb in and I tint it, and if I take 20% away but put a 20% bright, it's going to be up to the officer. And I'll tell you one thing for certain. When you get rear-ended and we look at the vehicle and we see tinted, we don't measure the amount of tint. We measure the fact that we note that it's there, and your insurance company may not like the fact that you've done that. They may hold you more responsible than before. Modifications put you into a sticky situation, or may potentially put you in a sticky situation. Can I report a motorcycle for driving recklessly? If so, do I need video to prove it? We have a website, tps.ca. On that website, you can make reports. Excuse me. Those reports, with video or without video, could result in us contacting the registered owner. To lay charges, we need a bunch of things. We need to know time, date, location. We have to have a complainant or a witness who can substantiate, like in the case of video. So there's more that's required. And very often, just a report doesn't result in charges for HTA because it's a fines committing offense. But we do build a profile. And if you and all your neighbors are putting in complaints about somebody who drives by at Mach 5, when we pull them over ourselves, we see that history because it does go into our database. That's stuff that's a clue. We call that a clue. And then we know how to proceed. We know what we're dealing with. Is there a certain decibel for sound in the exhaust in Canada? For motor vehicles, for cars in particular, I believe it's 74 decibels. That's from a mechanic friend of ours. I don't know offhand where that's listed, but that's what I was told. When it comes to motorcycles, there's a bylaw in the city of Toronto that you cannot exceed 92 decibels at idle, which is, I think, hard to even achieve, but we have issued tickets for that. So that's a thing. That is a thing. But generally speaking, we are simply charging for unnecessary noise, which is not something that is rated. I got to just check something here. Stand by for a second. I have to check my email for a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Where'd my email go? Open. Here we go. All right. Okay. Very cool. No, I'm as we're about to speak to some electric vehicles, I got an email about electric vehicles. I want to see if there's anything new that I have yet to see that I need to talk about. All right. Very cool. No, we're good to go. Back to you. Can I have underglow on my vehicle at any time in my vehicle? We suggest that off-road is the best time when you're parked and posing your vehicle for friends to look at. As long as the lights are not flashing, as long as they are not intermittent flashes of red light, I would say green and blue are also lights to avoid, and that the light is only reflecting off the ground. Underglow should only be reflected off the ground. If the bulbs are visible, you're projecting it to the side, front, or back, and that may be a ticket under the HTA. And our friends from News Talk 1010 have just popped in. Let me bring them into the conversation. For some reason, it's not working. Why can't I bring you into the conversation? There we go. Breaking news. Okay, we're waiting for you after the breaking news. I do have you on, so whenever you come
from the CTV Toronto newsroom, this is breaking news.
Breaking news.
I'm Ashley Legasic in the CTV Toronto newsroom. Infamous and controversial TV host Jerry Springer has died.
Wow!
This is according to multiple reports.
That is
the
breaking
controversial, influential TV host was famous for the Jerry Springer Show for 27 years. His namesake TV show unleashed chaos on weekday afternoons. And if you're of a certain age, you likely watched episodes of his show if you were homesick from school. We're working on getting details of the cause of death. Of course, we're going to keep you posted with the latest as we have it. From the CTV Toronto newsroom, I'm Ashley Legasic.
You can like someone, share common interests, have a good time together, but that doesn't make them a friend if they can't be trusted.
I'm putting them in the background because as much as I'm that is breaking news. Let me just send them a message. Let me know when you're back. I've got you on mute. Okay. Just letting control know. That is wild. That is wild. Jerry. I watched Jerry. What's the different Jerry? But wow, Jerry Springer. I watched it. wild. I haven't thought about him in years. But I used to watch that show. That was entertainment. Holy. And I say entertainment because I think it was all scripted. But the fights on that show were outrageous. Okay, give me a 30-second countdown and I'll throw it back in. Okay. Liam wants to know, when people talk about tints, they often say 35%. And does that mean I'll let 35% in? So 30% is the legal limit, which means you need to let 70% of light in. Yes.
Or worse, I was at an event and one of his producers was there, and somebody said to the producer.
So you're still talking about Jerry. Okay. 30 seconds, roughly 30 seconds. Thank you for the heads up. Okay, I can yap for 30 seconds. Billy Wang wants to know, if you speed in a school zone, would you get a ticket, and how much would it be? Well, you get a ticket for whatever speed you're doing, but in school zones, it's doubled. So it's much more. Okay. I'm going to put Jerry.
Some form of desperate to.
Oh, we're still in commercial. I keep popping in. But we're gonna pause on questions, which are really going to be the last ones, and then we're going to talk about electric vehicles.
Jerry Springer, you'll hear more about that from all sources, I'm sure, over the next 24 or 48 hours. But meanwhile, Ontario may allow compact three-wheeled vehicles on city roads. Breaking into his TikTok show here at Traffic Services to check in with Constable Sean Shapiro, the guy I call the TikTok traffic cop. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? I think there's a lot of misunderstanding among all of us, and maybe myself, and what kind of vehicle we're talking about.
So essentially, this is a mobility-style scooter. It's a one-person enclosed scooter that is capable of going up to 32 kilometers an hour. And it's sort of the halfway between an e-bike and halfway between just a mobility scooter that you would use if you had physical issues that required you to get around. The ones that you normally see on the sidewalk are limited to about 12 kilometers an hour. This one would be significantly faster. And there's some concerns that come with it because they're faster and they take up more space than an e-bike. But
okay, but if their top speed is 32, these things are going to slow traffic down.
Well, the idea is that these would be permitted in bicycle lanes. But yes.
Okay. So not when they say on city roads as a headline here from the article I'm looking at from CP24, that doesn't mean you're going to see the thing out there on Yonge Street.
Well, you could, because anywhere that a bicycle could go, this would essentially be able to go as well, and that includes being entitled to using a full lane. It would have to stay to the right of a lane if there was no obstruction, but they could take up the entire lane if they were trying to get around some gravel or some damaged road. Exactly the same situation as you would from a bicycle.
Oh, good. So they're going to be in the bike lane and then out on the road and then back in the bike lane and up on the sidewalk. And that's what we're looking forward to.
Well, and that's where there's a lot of potential issues. And it's no different than the issues we see with e-bikes, is that there become issues when we mix traditional vehicles with e-bikes and these alternative vehicles. And, there's going to be issues with people parking them all over the sidewalks potentially. We don't know exactly what. So these are things that are in discussion, and I'm sure that the powers that be will have lots of questions before they decide whether or not to implement it. It's a pilot that'll be available similar to that of the kick scooter pilot, where it'll be legal when or where municipalities decide to allow them.
Okay, I don't think this is going to be met with a lot of happiness from anybody who isn't driving one. I mean, the thing looks to me like a big wheel with a roof on it.
It's a pretty good example. They're not that much larger, from my understanding, than that of a bicycle in terms of the footprint when you put someone, whether they're sitting or standing. So I don't know from that perspective how much of an issue it is. I don't know what the visibility is like. There won't be any insurance required. It won't be a motor vehicle, or it'll be deemed not to be a motor vehicle. So you won't require a license or insurance, and they may be something that cyclists don't appreciate. So it'll be interesting to see how this progresses when we hear from all of the interested parties.
All right, they're called urban mobility vehicles, and the province is proposing to change the rules to allow cities who opt to test compact three-wheeled vehicles on their roads. We already have three-wheeled vehicles on the roads from the standpoint that there are motorcycles that become increasingly popular that either have two wheels on the back back, the trikes or the bikes that have the two wheels on the front and one wheel in the back. But those things are fully motorized, up to speed, licensed, tested, all of that kind of stuff. And they're out there in traffic, and they aren't much different than a motorcycle in traffic. And most critically, they can keep up.
Yeah, and those are totally different because they are motor vehicles capable of doing exactly as you described, keeping up. There's also low-speed motor vehicle pilot that's in place, and discussions about bringing that outside into other cities that would allow on certain roads vehicles that do require a driver's license and do require insurance, from my understanding, but would be allowed to operate similar to that of golf carts, that they would be allowed to be on certain roads at up to, I think, 50-kilometer-an-hour maximum speed roads. So there's other vehicles.
Why don't we just go full bore there and allow the golf carts out on the road as well?
Oddly enough, that is a pilot that is also coming this way, or at least being discussed. Right now, there's only 2 communities in the province of Ontario that allow golf carts, but there's a discussion of expanding that as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's being discussed, and there's a lot of pressure to be more accessible and have alternatives, modes of transportation. So lots of changes coming. Don't know where we'll end up when it comes to what the city allows, but our roads could look very different.
Okay, so I'm with Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop. How do we feel about rollerblades? Are those fine in traffic now?
Well, rollerblades are not legal for the road. No, neither are skateboards. The roads need to be a place for motor vehicles and other vehicles that are deemed safe. And when you start mixing all these other people into the mix, it makes it dangerous not only for them, but for the people that get involved with collisions. You talk about where does a rollerblader go? Well, they're technically, I guess, supposed to be on the sidewalk, but the sidewalk is for pedestrians. So we have a lot of people who want to get around. They want to get around safely and get their exercise in, but we have to find a way to do that safely for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know how safe I would feel in traffic in one of these little 3-wheel UMVs, the urban mobility vehicles that some communities are going to test out now. You put them out in the bike lane, and I can see problems because it is wider with three wheels. So at the back you have 2 wheels. It's wider than bicycles, and I could see the bicycle people and the UMV people becoming in conflict.
I absolutely see that because the cyclist community has fought so hard to get the bike lanes that they currently have. And there's, of course, politics there as well, where people like or dislike them. And now you have somebody else who's going to encroach in that space. It's going to be a competition. But I will say this, there are companies currently selling these UMVs or scooters, and they're calling them e-bikes. And there's a lot of interesting discussion there too, because I've seen them on the road and they will swear up and down that they are e-bikes.
Where can you ride an ATV in the city?
Off-road. You can't ride an ATV anywhere in the city.
Come on, it's all terrain. The city is terrain, Sean.
Well, ATVs are permitted in some jurisdictions in Ontario. Those are places that opt in, and very often they have signs specifically stating that you can use them. You have to be licensed, insured, plated, and again, it's only on the streets that are permitted. It's usually in cottage country where you see those.
All right. Well, probably in the wintertime, you see snowmobiles on the road in those same communities.
I imagine so.
Operate a little differently. All right, Sean Shapiro, always good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
All right.
So that was Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010. We had a little connection to talk about stuff and things. I always love when we get to connect with Jerry. He's a lot of fun. I will be joining another radio station later on this afternoon. I'll be posting it on online when I do that. Take care, Control. I just got a message saying thanks for popping in. It's always my pleasure. So we'll disconnect with them. But I will be joining the Kelly Contreras show on AM 640. We'll do that at 12:30, I think, is when the spot is, and we will talk about other stuff. We usually do a call-in segment with them. It won't be. I don't think I'll be able to do the live stream when I do it. I think it'll be audio only because I'm going to have to go off-site now. But yeah, we'll be back to do that. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. I know I didn't get to all the questions. There were a bunch that came in as we went into onto the radio, but I have got to go. And being that I got to go, it means I got to say goodbye. But it also means I get the opportunity to press that button and play the traffic song, which is my favorite song. I don't know why. Maybe I'm biased. But enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive
on the DVP.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed, and watch your driving.
Don't speed.
Yellow light, red light, green
Can't harmonize.
light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and
Not get freed. Yeah, that's it.
light, red light, green light.
Everyone should sing it.
Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I really do like it. I'm not going to sing it. I can sing. I was like the karaoke king. Come on. I used to love it. But I can't seem to sing. If I try and match their sound, I don't mix well. Anyway, I hope you had a great day with us. I hope you continue to have a great day after you leave us. And tomorrow it will be a 10 o'clock show. None of this 9:30 early business. Yeah, that's it. That's all. Have a great day. Be safe out there. Drive sober, drive legally, and park legally too. Have a great day.